Lynda Gill, top producing agent from Hawaii Life Real Estate Brokers on the island of Kauai in Hawaii.
You can have opinions, but the data doesn't lie. The numbers are what the numbers are.
So glad to have you here. So glad to be able to chat with you. This is actually our second chat. I'll share that little secret. We had another talk before. We were talking shop, we were talking real estate and YouTube, fun things like that. And I really enjoyed our conversation. I said, you know what, Lynda, I want to share our like what we talked about with my channel. And by the way, speaking of channels, I love your channel. You do great
Thank
content
you.
on YouTube. And then you have a blog and newsletter, like I have a newsletter and blog. So
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
I are doing similar things. So welcome.
Thank you. And I'm excited to talk with you. I grew up in Huntington Beach, which is not too far from where you're at.
Yep.
And I appreciate your data-driven information. And
Yeah.
that's exactly my style too.
Is it okay that if we call each other data nerds? Because I like to say I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah. No. I've got my spreadsheet. I mean, it's like that works for me.
I want to know how you went from Huntington Beach all the way to Hawaii. It's a 5 hour flight. I mean, did you take one flight and say, that's it, I'm moving to Kauai? Tell me that story. What happened?
Sure. The first time I went to Hawaii, it was with my parents. So that the decision wasn't made then, and it really wasn't made the first time that I came, or the second time that I came back, which was with my husband on our honeymoon.
Oh,
We
nice.
went to Oahu, and then we went to Maui, and the next year we went back to Maui. And a friend of mine who's a travel agent said, if you like Maui, you will love Kauai. So we planned a trip to Kauai, and that was it for both of us. We really, really, really loved it. And we kept going back every year. For the state of Hawaii, all the islands are really, really different. None are better than the other, but
Hmm.
they're all really different. They have a different vibe and they'll resonate with you. You know, one's going to resonate with you more than the other. And Kauai really resonated with me. It reminded me a lot of what Huntington Beach was like when I was growing up in the 60s and the 70s. So we kept coming back here. In 1996, I asked my husband where he wanted to retire, and he said Kauai. So we came up with an 8-year plan to move over here, which we did right on schedule in 2004. So we've been living here full time, and I've been doing real estate here in Kauai since 2004.
Were you selling real estate in California, or was that your first start into real estate in Hawaii?
I grew up hearing nothing except real estate. We would rip into every open house, and I swore I would have nothing to do with it. I drove a truck when I was in California. I worked for Oro Wheat Entenmann's, and I delivered Oro Wheat bread and Entenmann's pastries to grocery stores. It was the real estate agent that we had over here that inspired me to become a real estate agent here, because I thought if you can do the job the way that he did and be as ethical and be as truthful and make a living, then I think I could do that too. So that's how I got into real estate. And that was, 2004. I mean, if you remember that, those years, it was so crazy. I started selling property even before I moved over here, and then came over here to a market that was just on fire. And then it crashed. And that was a new skill set that I needed to learn. And then, took off again and crashed a bit again and took off again. So that's,
So what you're saying is real estate moves in cycles, and you've been through a couple
yes.
of them in the market. So the what's great, I love your story about how you got into real estate, because there's one of two ways that story can go. When people say, I got into real estate because of my agent who helped me. There's two ways it goes. One is they were so bad that I knew I needed to get into real estate to do it right.
Uh,
Or the second way is like you said, where it was you had such a great experience, such an ethical person, so helpful, and that they inspired you to get into real estate and be that same way. So that's the story I like to hear when people say they got
okay.
into real estate.
But I actually have My first story is your first example, because she was just a friend of mine and she had a license, and all agents are the same, right? So I just grabbed her, and it was really bad. So when we were getting an agent over here to purchase our vacation rental condo, which we did like 6 years before we moved here, I had learned my lesson, and I interviewed real estate agents and I asked them questions that I knew the answers to. And he was very honest and forthright and wasn't pushy. And that was how I knew that he was a good agent.
So I love that. So you actually have both stories in your career. I love that. You turned out the right way. You followed the path of the ethical agent, and that's why you're doing so well in your market. What else do you do besides real estate?
I love the outdoors. I do a lot of long walks over here, and you'll see that in a lot of my videos. I'm posting different things that I come along on my long walks.
What's the craziest thing you've come up with, on a long walk? I feel like I saw something in one of your stories, and I was like, that is hysterical.
One of them was a friend of mine and I were walking, and this was right around Christmas. Santa was coming out of the ocean. So, like, I couldn't have planned this for an Instagram posting if I tried. We're cruising along, and then here's Santa out in the ocean with his board paddling up. And we were in front of the Sheraton, and people were waiting for him. And then Santa comes up on the beach, and the people from the Sheraton were there to give him a shirt and candy, and he starts handing out candy. I mean, it was just fantastic.
That only in Hawaii does Santa come out of the ocean like that. I love that.
In December,
You're
it
right.
was that nice of a day. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So let's dive into the housing market in Hawaii. So obviously, I want to hear how things are in general, but my big
Mhm.
question, not knowing Hawaii like a local like yourself, how much variation is there between the islands? Is one island always up more than the others? Give me the lowdown on the Hawaii real estate market.
That's a great question, because there's a lot of nuances to our market. Oahu has the largest population and most of the properties, and a lot of the residential living. So that is going to be a more stable market. Maui and Oahu and the Big Island will also have an influx of foreign buyers, whereas Kauai, we only have maybe a little over 70,000 people that live here full time. And we also have a height restriction on our building. You can't build anything taller than a palm tree. So we're the only island that has that building restriction.
I love that,
And,
by the way.
and a lot of our properties are low density. We don't have a lot of inventory, and historically never have. We're also not impacted by foreign buyers. We don't have any except for Canadians. And with their dollar not being very strong against our dollar, we haven't been seeing those Canadian buyers for quite some time. Our market, it will not perform like the other islands, but our median prices are always staying high because we have such a low amount of inventory. And what's happening to us is, with COVID, we were going into a shortage of housing anyways. I mean, the whole nation was. In 2019, we had a shortage of houses, and then we go into to COVID, and with the shutdown, there's no building happening. We had a lot of people that could work remotely, so they came over here, started buying up all the houses, and then the condo market started taking off as they're living over here and working here full time, or they're coming over here to properties that they already own and taking those properties out of the vacation rental pool and occupying them as their primary residences. Our housing inventory is really, really low, and I don't see that changing in any time soon. There's other factors as far as building over here that are going to be different than building in California.
It's very difficult for new construction, so that there isn't anything that's going to create a flood of inventory. New construction's got to be difficult. No foreclosure wave. It's basically just kind of what you guys have is all you got to sell. Let's dive into property taxes in Hawaii. Again, being a nerd, This is one I always like to ask other agents, what are property taxes? Just some minor differences. Like, having come from Huntington Beach, California has Prop 13. Property taxes are around 1% and a little bit and only go up slightly every year, about 2% every year. How does
Right.
Hawaii handle property taxes?
The county of Kauai, I can speak to that, which is going to be different than the other islands. On the island of Kauai, property taxes are reassessed once a year. So, unlike California, where a sale will trigger a new assessment, how it is here is the valuation of the property gets reassessed once a year. The Kauai County has a algorithm that they use that has really gotten better and better over the years, where the assessed value is not as far off as it used to be. It used to be, you got your card and you're like, well, that's super low and that's okay with me. Now they're hitting it a lot more. And then we have different tax rates, and they just lowered our homestead rate. So
Hmm.
if your property is your primary residence, you are now taxed at $2.59 for every $1,000 of your assessed value.
Got
And
it.
then there's another exemption, which are age exemptions. There's two of them, and that would be totaling 200,000 off of your assessed value. So
Hmm.
if you hit that age exemption, they take 200,000 off the assessed value, and then you're assessed at $2.59 for every $1,000 of your net assessed value. That does have a cap to it, and that's something new for us. And it's kind of along the lines of Prop 13, where I believe it's 3% is the most that it can go up a year if it's your primary residence.
And I
And
appreciate you diving
yeah,
into that. I know it's more complicated in some ways than California, and it sounds like it's a little bit more expensive, but it does sound like for primary residents, they're making considerations to keep it affordable. What this further cements is needing a professional like you to navigate the process, to understand, work with escrow or title or however it's done there, and you to get it figured out what you're going to be looking at when it comes time to purchase in Hawaii when you haven't purchased real estate there before.
and the mistake that has been made just by people not knowing is that they move over here and they buy a piece of property that was at a homestead value, then they inherit that. If you don't file for your homestead exemption, the property taxes will go up. And you just have to pay that until you go back in and file. And there's more to that process than that, but it's knowing those things that can save you a lot of money.
No, that's great, and I appreciate you sharing. To me, like all these YouTube channels that talk about the best beaches and things like that, that's important too. You want to know all that stuff, but you also want to know how much it's going to cost you when when you
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
acquire. Having done it yourself, how tough was it to move from, I guess, do you call it the mainland? I don't know. Do you call us the mainland? How tough is it to make
We
that
do.
move? Okay,
We
okay,
call
good.
you the mainland.
Yeah, how tough is it to make that move? Were there any major surprises for you or when you made that move?
I don't like surprises, which is probably why I'm so data driven. And when people are buying, it's like I really want them to know everything that they can know before they sell, before they buy, because I don't like surprises, and I'm assuming everybody else doesn't either. We had been coming over here for years, but before we moved over here in 2004, we started off with a vacation rental condo, and we were spending time there. And then I had friends that I had over here. I had some community activities that I was involved with. My husband and I were golfing with a group of people. I really thought that I was going to be able to move over here and it was going to be seamless. And for my
Hmm.
husband, it was. And for me, it wasn't.
Mm.
And people said, give it a year, like don't do anything, stay put for a year, which I did. Um, we brought our cars over, and the moment that it hit me in the gut was when I took my California license plate off and put my Hawaii license plates on. And I was like, that was strange. And I gave it a year. And at the end of the year, I knew that it was going to work. And it took 2 years before it was like, yeah, this is, this was absolutely the thing to do. Really, all along, the only regret that I've had is that I wasn't able to move here sooner.
Good.
Um, I've never lived in a place where no matter where I'm traveling, I can't wait to get back home. And that is
Ah,
exactly how I feel today, still. And just driving around, I'll see certain sites and it's like, I can't believe I live here. And it's been 20 years. For my husband, it was seamless. He just got right into it and there was no issues at all. For me, it took a little while and that surprised me because I really thought that I had prepared.
that
Mm.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that. And just a little side note, I just had a discussion in the car with a couple of my kids of what is your favorite license plate? Because we'll usually spot license plates on cars. And Hawaii was the winner. We've seen some of the Hawaii ones with the
Oh,
rainbow. So
with the rainbow.
yeah, we love that's our favorite license plate, whatever it's worth. So I think it's funny that you brought that up, that that's when it hit you, is switching that plate. If others out there who are watching this have that same dream of making that move that you made, obviously I'm going to encourage them to reach out to you, Lynda, and let Lynda know you watched this video. But also, if they are just trying to navigate the process, trying to figure out where in Hawaii to end up, can they reach out to you for help with that as well?
They absolutely can. If they want to buy on another island, Hawaii Life is statewide and it's all one brokerage company. So I'm not reaching out to different franchises. I know all these people and I will direct them to somebody on that island. But really, my first bit of advice comes from my own experience, which is all the islands are so different. So
Mhm.
you're not, when you're moving to Hawaii, well, where? And then when you pick an island, different parts of the island are different. I live in Poipu, which is the southern part of Kauai. It is really different than the North Shore, which is really different from the east side, which is really different from the Kekaha, Waimea area. All the different areas of the island are so different. So first you drill down which island, then you drill down which area resonates with you. Then you start looking at properties, not the other way around.
I love that.
People who are looking at properties in Princeville, which is about 2 hours away. And then they're also seeing a really neat property in Poipu. It's like, don't focus on the property, focus on the area of the island that resonates with the lifestyle that you want. And then I'll say something else. What's the reason for moving over here? Being here, we have problems here too.
Mhm.
It isn't going to be problem free. And when you're on vacation, it's a lot different than living here. And you're not going to really know if it works until you make that investment and move over here. So maybe you want to rent for a while if you can find a place to rent. That's a whole nother talk we could do, but you might wait for at least a year to see if it'll work for you. That's something else you could do too.
And what I want to say right there, everything you've just said is a true professional, because you're not out there, you're not just a hustler out there trying to say, oh, I want to do a deal. Come over here, you're going to love it. Bye, bye, bye. What you just shared is you are truly trying to help people make the best decision for their lifestyle for the long run. And having made the move you made, having it take 2 years for you to settle in, that perspective you bring, that's absolutely perfect. I didn't even realize when we had our first discussion how similar our styles are in business and wanting to make sure we do the right thing for people. It's people are more important than the dollars. You'll tell people no, even if it's an easy paycheck, you'll tell them no because it may not be the right thing for them. So anyway, that's
Uh,
I appreciate what you just shared, and I see what a
uh,
real professional you are.
Thank you for that. And that is something that the real estate agent, the second real estate agent that inspired me to become an agent, that was a quality that he had as well. He wasn't trying to make a sale. He wanted to give accurate, data-driven information so we could make a decision on what's best for us. I don't know what's best for anybody. I've got enough to deal with just with myself. So I don't know
Right?
what's best for anybody else, but I can sure give you the information and you can make that decision.
I love it. All right, so I didn't even ask, what's the weather like today in Hawaii?
It's perfect Hawaii weather where if you don't like it, just kind of wait around a while. You know, earlier today, my husband got rained out of playing golf. Now the sun is starting to come out. It's a bit of a mixed bag where we're hearing from the weatherman it's going to be this way, but it turns out to be a beautiful sunny day, or it's supposed to be a beautiful sunny day and it's rainy. So it's the winter time, but we're wearing no jackets. This is just the attire that we have on today.
I love that. So how does a Kauai weatherman keep his job? That's what I want to know.
Well, they're all from Oahu, so we just sit over here in Kauai and hope they get it right.
Well, Lynda, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights and your story, and look forward to having you on again. Well, I want to do some more updates on the real estate market there, start to share more about what's going on in other parts of the country. And so, in general, just to summarize on the real estate market, you're not worried about any sort of crash or any sort of downturn at all in real estate. It's full steam ahead there.
I'm already seeing that. So with my buyers, when I saw that for the third straight meeting in a row, the feds did not raise interest rates, and then there was talk of in 2024 they might lower it. There's some people that I'm working with, and I said, now it would be the time for you to buy, because there are some buyers who are waiting for the interest rates to drop as their signal to jump back in, others that have to. So we already are don't have a lot of inventory. It's really going to be tough. I've already got some buyers that have jumped in. I think it's going to be a year where we're going to have people jumping in the market and just not a lot of inventory. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that update. So here's to a great 2024 over there in Kauai. And thanks again. And I'll talk to you
Thank
again
you.
soon.
Thank you. So good talking with you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Christian.
A big thanks to Lynda Gill from Hawaii Life. And make sure if you're interested in Hawaii, you reach out to Lynda and let her know you saw her here. Let us know in the comments below any of your Hawaii questions. And we also want to know what other areas you may be interested in learning more about, other places you'd be interested in buying real estate. And make sure you check out this next video. The next thing you need to know is right here. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we can't wait to hear from you.